Hey, what's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maskill, where we focus on helping guide you to have a prosperous blue collar business. Today, we have with us Kent Boll. Kent is a nationally known sales and business coach serving the home service industry. He started his first electrical company in 2005, and within a year, he was doing $100,000 a year. Today, he operates a home service company with revenues over $20 million per year, doing electrical, HVAC, and plumbing. So that is Kent Boll. Welcome, Kent. Thank you so much for being here. What's going on today?
I'm doing wonderful. I've
Awesome.
had a busy morning training companies, and this is my second podcast of the day, but it's been busy, but I love doing it, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Super excited to have you here as well. Obviously, you've been in the trades for a really long time. You've been around it, you've been in it, you've been operating it, owning, doing all the things. So, how did your journey start into the trades to really propel you to where you are today?
Yeah, long story. I'm not going to go through all of it, but I started when I was 9 years old with my dad as an electrician. So kind of enslaved in the industry like a lot of sons were. He was a master electrician and also did commercial refrigeration. So I have a little bit of background in that. And it's small, just him and me. We didn't never had any employees, nothing like that. And so that's how I started in this business. And then in 2005, he came to me and said, "Hey, I don't want to do the electrical anymore. Why don't you do the electrical and I'll just do the refrigeration?" At 23 years old, I got my master's license and I started my business. I did get a little bit from him, but again, we were very small. Most of the electrical work was from his refrigeration customers, so it wasn't like we were doing that full time. So I basically had to start a brand new business from scratch. I had a few, customers here and there, but basically it was from scratch. And I really got in big with new homes at the time. This was 2005, 2006, housing boom. And then in 2008, 2009 was the Great Recession, as they called it. And all my builders either went out of business or dried up of work or both. And at that time, I found what was called Electrician Success International, or ESI for short, which was owned by Success Group, which is now called Certain Path today. And back then, they were also there was a franchise side and a non-franchise side. So the franchise side was names you guys all probably know: Mr. Sparky, 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, and Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. That was the franchise side, and then they had the non-franchise side, which was ESI, PSI, and Airtime 500. And so obviously, I joined the electrical side because I was an electrical, and I went to one of their what they call a profit day, and they started telling me everything they did, and I was like I was built for this, man. Like this is for me. I was built for this. I signed up right there on the spot. In electrical, this was very new at the time. Like strictly home service back in 2008 was kind of unheard of. Like most electrical companies did a little service, they did some new construction, they did commercial, they did residential, but there were very, very few 100% residential electrical companies at the time. And at the time, no HVAC or plumbing company carried electrical like a lot of them do today. And so in my Minneapolis St. Paul market, I was one of two companies that did electrical residential service, you know, strictly. And the other company was also a member of ESI that was in our area. And so I joined that group. I built that business up to about $6 million in revenue. Um, that's in today's dollars. I go by today's dollars because 6 million today was like 3 million then, but you had the same amount of people, right? So it's $6 million of about revenue, and then I purchased an HVAC company in 2017. They did about 8 million, and then I purchased a small plumbing company. They were doing just under 1 million at the time. And I rolled those businesses all together, and I created my business. I built that up, and then I rolled that into what's called platform partners. And we have 30 companies in our platform. We're doing a little over $1 billion in revenue a year in that platform. And I just recently took my business specifically for odd reasons and sold that to a private equity, but I'm still part of the large platforms. So anyway, I tell everybody I've been everywhere from the guy in the truck, in the attics, in the crawl spaces, all the way to where I am today. I've done every part of the business. I've been the dispatcher, I've been the marketing guy, I've been the call by call manager, I've been the technician. I've kind of seen every facet of this. And I think there's very few business coaches or sales coaches that can say that they've done them all and built them all themselves. And so I think it makes me a little unique with all that.
Awesome. I mean, it's an incredible journey to go from, being your dad's helper and apprentice all the way up to scaling and then realizing, hey, we can roll up HVAC, we can buy plumbing, turn it into a platform company, and then have that exit. So a lot of the time, you spend a lot of your time now. I follow your content, and you mentioned that you've done all the seats. You're big into call by call management. Now, I know there's people that love it, people that are skeptical of it, people that have no idea what it is. For those that either don't know what it is, aren't sure what it is, what is actually call by call management, and why is it so important to the success of companies in the home service space?
Yeah, so great question. I'm on calls all day and I explain this every day and I love the topic. So call by call management, it's a buzzword. In the industry, last probably year or two, people are talking a lot about it. The reason I think it's coming online now big is because the downturn in the economy, the inflation, it's made selling more difficult. Call volume has dropped for more companies. Marketing has gotten more expensive than ever, and our tickets are lower because of the economy. So when I did this in 2008, I didn't do call by call management. When I got into this industry in 2008, that was the height of the recession. And you better know how to sell. Like if you were going to make it in 2008, 2009, and even 2010, you better know how to sell because every call counted. There were more houses almost for sale than people not for sale when I would drive down the street back in that time. And so it was difficult. Fast forward to today, I believe we are in a massive recession. I don't think our government leaders want to say it, but I think we are. And so the same principles apply. We better be good at selling, and every call counts. The other side of the coin is we should have, if you haven't, you should have doubled your prices since 2020. Customers thought we were expensive in 2020. And now we have to be probably almost double with inflation since 2020, maybe more than double. And now customers thought that was expensive then. Now we're doubling our price in a down economy with high inflation, and credit card debt is higher than it's ever been. All this adds up to making the technician have to do something different in the home, and every call matters, and marketing is so expensive. So how do we squeeze as much juice out of every call as we can while being ethical at the same time, right? And so call by call management is what does it. And so what call by call management is made up of is a strict sales process. So everybody in the company has to run the same process in the home. Now, I'm not saying they need to be robots. Like I don't want that, but they have to hit the key points throughout the process because as a call by call manager sitting in the office, how am I going to help this person when I have no idea what they're doing in the home? But if I know they're following a similar process, I kind of know what's going on in the home without being there. Okay. So strict sales process. The next is call by call declines. So at certain points in the process, key points, usually after proposing something, whether it's a diagnostic or a repair or a replacement, if we get a decline from the customer, the call by call manager is required to get on the phone with the customer, not with the technician, with the customer, and find out why, right? Because again, marketing is so expensive and every call matters. We can't just let technicians be like, okay, well, call us back if you change your mind and get up and leave the house, which happens 99% of the time. We can't allow that. We paid probably $200 to $500 for that lead through our marketing company. We can't just roll over and die and let it go. It's too valuable. And so the call by call manager needs to get on the phone with the customer for a dollar's perspective, but they also need to get on the phone with the customer as a moral reason too. Like, okay, so we just told this customer a lot about their home. We educated them and they don't want to move forward with our company. I really should find out why. Like this customer is really firing us in a way. I know none of us want to admit it, but they really did. They had us to the house. We gave them a price. They said no. They fired us. We should find out why as a manager. And I will tell you, after being the call by call manager, I've sat in that seat before. You will find out so much of what is going right and what is going wrong if you talk to your customer directly and bypass the technician. The customer will tell you exactly what's going on. And they might have a good reason, or they might just need a little more explanation of why this is to push them over the finish line. And the call by call manager is not getting on the phone as a salesperson. This is a misconception, at least in my model. They're getting on as a concerned manager. I am concerned of what the technician is finding, and I'm not understanding why you don't want to move forward with us today. That's more of the call. It's not this great salesperson that's going to sell a bunch of stuff. That's not what it is. Okay, so that's the customer getting on the phone. Okay, then we have what's called remote ride-alongs, and which is a fancy term for using different softwares. And you can use Slack, you can use WhatsApp, you can use Microsoft Teams, you could even use text messaging if you're a smaller business. But the point is I need to know, as the call-by-call manager sitting in the office, I need to know what's happening in the home. So I need to know, like in electrical, I need to know when you got there, right? I need to know you're there. I need to know the brand of the panel, the age of the panel, the type of wiring in the house, maybe the year the home was built. I need to know your voltage drop calculations. I need to know different things in the home. In HVAC, I need to know the age of the equipment, the brand, temp rise, maximum external static pressure, maximum external static pressure nameplate rating. Like, I need to know that information. Plumbing, I need to know the water quality, grains of hardness, grains of chlorine, water pressure. I need to know if there's any gas leaks in the home. These are our vitals. I need to know this information. And that all comes at me. I don't have to go hunt for it as the call by call manager. It's all coming at me. So by it coming at me, I'm not clicking around. So a lot of people will be like, well, why can't I just look in Service Titan or whatever CRM you're on? And the fact is, because you have to go hunt for it. If you have 5 technicians in the field, you're going to be clicking around all day long. Your fingers are going to get sore, right? The information has to come at you. And so you know when you can get on the phone with that customer, right? We're monitoring every call. We're remotely riding along with every technician on every call to hopefully win every single day. And then the fourth piece is the optional AI products like Rilla or CXC to really listen to everything going on in the call, transcribe it, and it helps us know that, you know, the technician is doing all the things I can't see in the remote ride along, right? So in a mature model, it's all of that is call by call management.
That's awesome.
And I know a lot of people are probably like, holy cow, that's a lot, right? Like, that's a lot. And that's exactly why people hire me, because it is a lot. So I train your technicians over Zoom or in person or in both on how to implement the sales process. I train your call by call managers. I train the owners. I help you get set up with the remote ride alongs. And I have great relationships with some AI technology to help you get that implemented if you want it. And by the way, you don't need those. Please don't go out and spend $3,000, $4,000 a month with Rilla if you don't have this other stuff in place. It's just going to be a waste of money, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, this is super interesting, Ken, and I appreciate you really getting in the details and giving everybody a ton of actionable advice. And totally agree. Every call counts, every call matters, every lead that we're working so hard for, we need to maximize it. And if we leave that house with a 0, we also did a disservice to the customer, because the customer called with a problem and they're leaving, we're leaving, and they still have the same problem. So now they're frustrated. They just spent 90 minutes with a technician, and now they got to go call somebody else. So a lot of times, we as owners, we as technicians, just like, oh, well, whatever, on to the next one, because 2020, 2021, 2022, we could go on to the next one, because the board was full. We didn't have enough people, and people would pay whatever because they're taking money out of their house, and interest rates were low, and
Right.
all the things that everybody knows. So
Right.
curious. One, I love the idea of using something like Slack where the information's coming to you, even if you're not going to go full blown call by call management.
Mhm.
I've been there clicking through calls on Service Titan and looking at pictures and seeing if they filled out the form and seeing if they put in the notes. But when you put it
Yeah.
back on the technician of, hey, here are the things you get, and here's the template you got to follow: age of home, age of panel, what
Yeah.
all the things that we need in order to serve the customer, in order to, just like going to a doctor, and we need those vitals, like you said. So I'm curious because I'm sure you get this all the time, and technicians feel this when this gets implemented and it's doing something different, and we don't
Mhm.
like change, but it could also feel like, oh, my service manager doesn't trust me, or my dispatcher doesn't trust me. Now I'm just being
Right.
babysat all day. I'm being micromanaged. What's your response to those, complaints, issues, thought processes of, around call by call management?
Yeah, no, great question. And to piggyback off what you started with, which was, we have them fill out debriefs and forms, right? The problem with that is we're reactive, right? They left. That we can't go back in time, right? So yeah, we have, assuming the technician filled it all out and was honest with everything, we have the information, but we really can't do anything with that last call. And what happens is as owners and managers, we're usually extremely busy. Like we're so busy. By the time like that guy's slacking, I'm sure he'll turn around and then I'll talk to him next week. Oh shoot, he's on vacation next week. Okay, then follow. Oh, I'm on vacation that week. Okay, well then the next week, right? And before you know it, 2 days, 3 weeks, 2 months go by when we finally sit down with this technician and find out all the things they've maybe stopped doing in the process. We could have figured that out after two service calls instead of 2 weeks or 2 days. What call by call management does is it turns your business in from reactive to proactive. And that is literally a game changer because most owners and managers are just putting out fires all day long. Well, if they just spent that time doing call by call management, they would stop the fires before they'd start, at least most of them. And so a lot of people are like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. It's like you don't have time for it because you're putting out fires all day. What if we get those fires to stop starting? Then you're not using your time on that and you're being proactive, right? So I wanted to bring that up in the first part of your question. But the second part is the technicians. Yes. So it's all depends on how you look at it, right? It's just like complementary safety evaluations in the home, right? A homeowner could be like, "You're just trying to sell me more stuff that I don't need," right? Or you could look at it as we're doing an extra service to make sure your home is as safe as possible before you leave, right? It's all the mindset of how you look at it. Um, but I always say this, football fans, pick your best quarterback. I'll just use Tom Brady because everybody knows who he is, whether you like him or not. Tom Brady had a coach, and in his helmet, he had an earpiece, right? Every quarterback has it in the NFL. And they're allowed to talk to their coach, I think, right up until the ball is snapped and it shuts off. We have one of the best quarterbacks or the best quarterbacks in the world still have a coach in their ear. They're basically doing call by call management. The coach is looking at screens, he's looking at the field, he's telling the quarterback what they should do and what plays to run, right? And then the mic shuts off and then they execute. This is very similar, right? We're a winning team. And if the coach has the information and can give you some advice to win the call, like why wouldn't we want that person? Right? Like why wouldn't we want that person literally in our back pocket helping us throughout the call? On top of that, a lot of companies are paying commissions, spiffs, whatever it is, and at my company, we don't take any spiff or commission away from the technician if the call by call manager closes the deal. Well, hell, I just got a buddy in my back pocket to help me close deals for me to make more money, and it's not costing me anything. Like, why wouldn't you want that? Right? And here's the last thing I'll say about it. Usually, and I mean usually, the technicians that complain the most about it are the ones already not following the process because they want to do what they want to do. And they're usually, not always, but usually not the higher producing technicians anyway. And they probably could use it more than anybody.
Yeah, and it's definitely true. And I heard this kind of analogy a long time ago. The people who hate report card day are the people who aren't doing well. People who
Right.
love report card day, I'm like, I'm crushing
Yeah.
it. I'm following the
Yeah. They're
process.
they're waiting for the report card because they want
Yeah.
to see how good they did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the good players on the field, they're excited to see what the scores at the end. They're excited to show up and play, and they
Yeah.
work, together as a team. So I'm curious on this one, just kind of go back a few. One thing I do love is when the call by call manager gets on the phone, it's not to, hey, we'll give you a discount if you say yes now. And
Mhm.
then it turns into the used car sales. And let me go into the back mysterious room and talk to the manager and see what we can do. Then all trust is broken. But I really love the idea of
Mhm.
I just want to figure out what happened and why, how did we fail you because you're not moving forward to fix a problem that you called with. So just wanted to go
Yep.
back on that because I love that. But one thing that I'm curious of, most traditional home service companies that are doing just service, they have dispatchers and they have service managers. Service manager sometimes does call by call, but it's usually like, hey, I'm in the van and I got to put together my options. What do you think about my options?
Mhm.
Dispatcher is kind of, okay, they're getting ready to wrap up. I see that they just got a zero. Now I got to find out something else for me. Or they just sold it. I'm going to tell them if they can do it or if it's got to flip to install or something like that. But who's doing call by call management? Do we need a dispatcher? Do we need a service manager? Are they splitting the duties? What does the office side look like if you go all in on the call by call management?
Yeah, great question. You're asking all the advanced questions. I love it. Um, so I have posted, and people get upset when I say fire all your dispatchers. We shouldn't have dispatchers. We should have call by call managers. Um, we should also never have service managers. Fire your service managers. We don't need service managers. Most service managers are a technician brought out of the field to sit in the office, and they think their job is to help guys figure out technical problems in the field. And that's really not their job. Their job is to make sure customers are happy and revenue's coming through the door. They should really be called revenue managers. And most people wouldn't volunteer for the job probably if you told them, do you want to be the revenue manager, right? It's a lot more scary than service manager. But what you really need is a sales manager in a smaller operation. You need a sales manager who is the call by call manager. When you get past 8 to 10 trucks, then you'll need a call by call manager in between the sales manager and the technicians. And if you get larger, you might need multiple call by call managers and multiple sales managers, right? And so it grows. It has legs. So the more you grow, the more pieces we put in place. But really what it is the sales manager is there to help close the major repair or replacement deals. They are more getting on the phone to sell. The call by call manager is really there to police the process. So I always say they're the policeman or the policewoman of the process. And by the way, they do not need technical knowledge. Some of my best call by call managers were dispatchers. What I like about good dispatchers is that they're very strategic. They know how to play chess. They know how to move their pieces throughout the day to get all their guys to the right calls and to move the board around, and they strategize. That's why I love dispatchers. And that's the exact same mindset you need for call by call management. You need the strategy mindset. So I usually hired really good dispatchers and trained them to be call by call managers. Because with my sales process, they only need 4 or 5 vitals, right? Like in HVAC, we'll just take for instance. Well, I shouldn't say most, all air handlers and all furnaces have a maximum static pressure rating right on it. And so if they take a picture of that and then they take a picture of their manometer or magnehelic and it's higher than this number, I don't need to be an HVAC technician to know that's bad, right? And I'm staring down the barrel of a major repair or replacement opportunity. All I got to do is teach a dispatcher that here's the label, and if it's anything above that, it's a major repair or replacement opportunity, right? So they don't have to be a former technician. They don't have to have technical knowledge. Um, but the sales process have to be built where they post their vitals. So I explain this like going to the doctor, right? Every time you go to the doctor, they check your height, your weight, your blood pressure. Every time, doesn't matter what clinic, what hospital you go to, anywhere in America, they do the exact same things. which is pretty incredible when you think about it. We should be the same thing. When we go there, we're checking the vitals of the system. And then if the levels are elevated, like the doctor, they're going to send you to a specialist. And the specialist is going to run more tests. Well, we do the same thing. We have a specialist come out and they're going to run more tests, or what we call diagnostics. And we charge for those diagnostics. We charge $500 to $1,500 to be able to tell the customer why the vitals are failing, and then we can move forward with a major repair or replacement um, price. Now, the original person may not be the best person for that. Maybe that person doesn't like to sell large tickets. Maybe that person's not good at selling large tickets. Maybe that person doesn't have enough knowledge to figure out what the customer needs. So the call-by-call manager will we stop the process at a certain point for them to be like, okay, we sold the diagnostic. I'm going to bring Frank out because Jimmy, I need you to go to a different call, right? And so they have that strategic ability in there on a turnover model. Or maybe the person on site does have all the knowledge and everything, and then they're going to flip that lead to the same person, but they're running two different processes. They're a technician and then they're a field supervisor. They do two different things, and they follow this process now through the same person.
This is super helpful. This is super insightful. And I really appreciate you like going into detail and like actually how it works. Cause obviously there's a lot of content out in the world where it's like all theory, but doesn't actually get into, into the meat and potatoes of it per se. So this has all been super helpful, really walking everybody through from the time your technician goes out there. What is call by call management, following a sales process? What is the call by call manager? What do we do with dispatchers, service managers? And I do love the point because so many companies are like, well, we need someone over to see everybody. So let's promote, our best guy from the field. He's a service manager, but he might be really good technically, but he doesn't know how to drive revenue. And that person's job is to run the sales trainings and do all the other things and coach and lead and do everything you need for your service techs to be able to sell. But I do love the idea of, turning your dispatchers into, the good dispatchers know how much revenue they have to hit and they know who's good at what, and they have all the things done. And now it's their responsibility to make sure the guys are actually following the process to drive the revenue, which is the end goal of them anyway. So that's been super helpful. We've gone over a ton of things, Ken. As we start to wrap this up, I like to give everybody out there, something actionable they can do within the next 24 hours. We've talked about a lot of things. I'm guessing a lot of listeners aren't doing what you teach people to do every day. What's one thing anybody out there in the home service space can do within the next 24 hours to start to move their business forward, even just 1%?
If you should be tracking your average tickets and closing rates per technician. If you are doing that and you have a technician running over a $2,000 average ticket, you don't want that guy physically doing the work anymore. You better figure out a way to have somebody else do the work, like an install crew or an apprentice following them. Once you realize that your best sales guy, if you just keep him selling and not have him do the work, you can push your business so much further. When we started implementing install crews for our best technicians, we almost doubled in sales that year without running any more calls. We just kept the guys who were good at selling, and we had install crews coming behind them to do the work.
That is awesome insight. Great advice for everybody out there. Kent Boll, thank you again for coming on the show, sharing your journey and providing a ton of actual advice, insight, wisdom for all the blue collar business owners out there as we continue on this journey to prosperity. Before we sign off though, Kent, where can our listeners go to keep in touch with you, learn more about you, your process, and reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm an older generation, so I'm on Facebook a lot. It's just Kent Boll. I have a personal page. I have a Kent Boll business page. Doesn't matter. You can get a hold of me either way there. You can email me, kboll5096@gmail.com is another way to get a hold of me too. And I'll be able to reach back out to you and set up a discovery call and find out about your business and what you're looking to do and how I can help you.
Awesome. There you guys have it. Kent Boll is old school, so just look him up. I'm guessing there's not a ton of them in the world. Kent is Kent, Boll is Boll. Kent, thanks again for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And before we go, as you know, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to creating consistent positive cash flow. However, the journey starts with making sure you are priced right so you can have a growing and more profitable business. I've created a super easy to use pricing calculator for everyone in the trades. You will no longer have to guess what you should charge. You'll no longer have to call around your competition and see what they charge. This calculator is easy to use and will provide you confidence and clarity that you're actually priced right. It also comes with a step-by-step PDF guide and a video walkthrough. So head on over to thebluecollaradvisors.com/price. thebluecollaradvisors.com/price to download it today and so you can start implementing it tomorrow. Until next time, remember, what got you here won't get you there. If you are ready for different results, it's time to start doing things differently.